Hello everybody and welcome. Oh god, this is so, I don't know why I get so weird about starting live streams. I don't know, it's a sort of strange little thing I've got going on. I just get really like, oh, I get all nervous. Welcome to this week's WHO Bulletin, everyone. Hope you're all doing very, very well on this lovely Tuesday evening as per. Welcome to the Underhenge DWFA 16, Evan Marnie, Agnor, Thunder King 24, Philip Archer, The Hooligans, DTP, Dr. Master, Dragnet Fan 2009, and everyone else who's watching along. Is that RNAFC, I believe, as well? Welcome to the stream. I hope you're all having a lovely evening. We've actually got some other news as well, which I've literally just seen as I opened Twitter, annoyingly. Ooh, interesting. Okay, welcome to the stream, everyone. Hope you're having a lovely time. We've got some Doctor Who news around the Devil's Core, the second episode of the new series, which is coming out very soon. I've just seen that news as well. The DWFA 16. That is something that I had missed up until now. I think it's just been announced. So that's brand new news. So let's talk about that brand new news. Let's share that as well. And yeah, interesting. So welcome everyone. Hope you're having a lovely evening. As I said, I keep saying that. The news this week is Doctor Who will not be able to use Beatles music in its Beatles episode, which is great, isn't it? It's got a lot of people talking for obvious reasons, but let's talk about it ourselves. Oh, that's phenomenal, George. That's top tier. That is really great camera work. So what we've got here is an article from Empire, who recently got a bit of a scoop on the new series of Doctor Who, as they always tend to do every now and then. Oh, my camera's doing a funny thing. Let's ignore that that's happening. Let's ignore that that's happening as well. This is really professional, actually. I just want to make sure I got the whole article in there. Doctor Who's Beatles episode sprang from an age-old problem trying to do a Beatles episode. This is from Empire, so thanks for them for writing this wonderful article. I'm excited to see more stuff about the Star Wars Acolyte thing as well. Over the years, the Doctor has met all kinds of legendary cultural and societal figureheads across his TARDIS travels. Vincent van Gogh, Charles Dickens, Rosa Parks, William Shakespeare and Agatha Christie, to name a few, but he's never met the Fab Four until now. The new series of Doctor Who, the first full series to feature Ncuti Gatwa's take on the iconic Time Lord, with showrunner Russell T Davies returning to the Gallifrey, very good, will feature in an episode titled The Devil's Chord, in which the Doctor and Millie Gibson's companion Ruby Sunday rock out with the Beatles in Abbey Road. And it's an idea that has been a long time coming, apparently. As Davis tells Empire in a major new joint interview with Gatwa to celebrate the show's latest regeneration, the notion of doing a Beatles episode has always hit a certain stumbling block, but that in itself became a source of inspiration. I knew instantly you could never play the Beatles songs on screen because of copyright, it's too expensive, so I'm thinking, how would you do a Beatles episode without Beatles music? And that becomes the entire plot. That's where the idea came from, copyright law. So this is an interesting thing. A lot of people immediately went very much up in arms about this, going, oh, well, that's really shit. Oh, disappointed in that. And I was a little bit disappointed. Like, obviously, in a Beatles episode, I want to hear some Beatles music, but I'm not an idiot. Like, I know how it works, and unfortunately, like, licensing music is very expensive. There's a lot of famous industry stories out there. If you're familiar with the horror film Tusk, that is a horror film which I think a majority of the budget of millions of pounds went on to license the Fleetwood Mac song Tusk to play in one of the scenes in the films. Kind of insane when you think of it like that. That's most of the budget of the film, but that's just how much licensing music costs. And for Doctor Who, obviously they had a big budget, they have big Disney backing, but that's for a whole series, you know, and you can't just blow the budget on one Beatles song appearing. And whether you use 2 seconds of it, whether you use the full song, you know, you can't. It's the same amount of money, and it's the same permissions and licensing, and it's just not really going to happen. And it was kind of obvious from the get-go, which is a shame. You sort of hold out hope. I have some ideas of what I would like to see in this, and RNAFC has also made a point of that in the chat there, is that the score is somewhat Beatles-esque, I'll be happy. And I feel the same. If you listen to, the film Yesterday, which isn't the best film of all time by any means, but it is, it's a Beatles film. They have covers of Beatles songs in there, and beyond that, they have the score of the film, composed by Daniel Pemberton, which actually does, use Beatles-esque style music and Beatles chord progressions and motifs in the actual score, which is interesting. So though the orchestraic parts of Beatles music, I believe, comes from is it George Martin who does that? I'm not sure. I'm not a massive Beatles expert, but I do know some of my Beatles lore. So I feel that maybe there's some different permissions in there. Maybe they can get permissions to use motifs within the music score of the episode, but I still feel that they're probably not going to be able to do that. But if it's, as you say, if it's Beatlesy kind of vibe, then I can jam with that. Can't they do a cover of it is also a very good question. Yes, and it would probably cost less money to do a cover of it, but then you have to organise that whole recording of that cover, and then how you do it, and is it going to be anywhere near as good as the original, all that sort of stuff. I'm not sure. I don't really know how it works. I'm not an expert in copyright law, so I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but I can presume that it's very, very expensive and very, very difficult. The Beatles especially are notorious for having very, very expensive licensing fees, because they're world famous and a lot of their music is massively renowned. But you don't actually hear Beatles music in that many films and stuff like that. You hear a lot of Queen, you hear a lot of other bands and stuff. You don't tend to hear a lot of Beatles stuff outside of Beatles' own films. And even films like Nowhere Boy, which is a Beatles film, which tells the story of John Lennon growing up, that doesn't have any Beatles music in it because they probably couldn't afford to have it. So what they did was they had Quarrymen, so that the Beatles, before they were the Beatles, Quarrymen music, which is a really clever way to get around it, because it wouldn't have been worth as much money, or it wouldn't have been have to pay as much. So I kind of think that's the point as well, Philip, is that this interview kind of talks about, it's not announcing that they're not using it, it's saying that the plot itself actually comes around the idea of copyright law, which I love, because I love when Doctor Who's meta. If the idea of copyright law is almost a restriction in that, we know that Jinkx Monsoon's character, who we'll talk about very shortly, has this ability with sort of music notes and has this sort of affinity for music and all that sort of stuff. That'll be an interesting plot point for that character in a very meta way. Could she be controlling the output of what music comes out and all that sort of thing? It being a possibly quite an anti-establishment, anti-copyright law kind of vibe would be kind of interesting, especially coming from a Disney and BBC production. But I kind of hope it goes in that direction. It kind of seems like they're teasing it a little bit. Like, how do you do a Beatles episode without Beatles music and then make that the entire point? That's where the idea comes from, copyright law. Not that the Beatles have never existed and that's what they're going to do. Not necessarily. It might be. But I'm kind of interested to see. Yeah, I don't really know. I think that, I don't know what they're going to do with it, but I'm kind of excited. I have to sort of try and be a little bit optimistic about it, because I kind of always thought deep down they weren't actually going to get Beatles music. I was kind of holding out hope that they would, but I kind of didn't expect them to. So how do you do a Beatles story without playing Beatles music? I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. And if it's any good, I'll be very, very impressed. A lot of people make comparisons to, well, Vincent van Gogh, he had his paintings, William Shakespeare referenced plays, all that sort of thing. Very, very different, obviously, as well. And I believe those people have also been dead for long enough where copyright law doesn't apply to their art anymore, whereas the Beatles, of course, is still, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr are both still alive. Their music is still very much copyrighted, and you can't use that just free. So I guess if they were doing a historical on musicians from a few hundred years ago, then fair enough. You could probably do a Beethoven episode, but this is sort of the sacrifice we make for getting a more contemporary historical episode, I should say. Doing the Beatles is an exciting prospect, but you know that you probably can't use the music from it. But if you know that going into it, then you can kind of write around that. And I think Russell's a clever enough writer that could work. It could also not work, so I'm not sure. It also came from a conversation that proved to Davis that the legacy of the Beatles still has a meaning for younger generations. There's a young director called Sam Arbour who I've kind of been mentoring for a while, and when I told him I was going back to Doctor Who, he was just 21, and he said, "Oh my god, if I had a TARDIS, I'd go back and watch the Beatles recording their first album." And I thought, for a 21-year-old to say that must mean there's something to that idea. I completely agree. I'm 23 and I love the Beatles. I'm a big, I've listened, even last year I re-listened to all of the albums in order. There's a lot of people my generation who still love the Beatles. It's kind of embedded in music history. They are phenomenal and iconic, and it does last generations. So I am excited about that, and I'm glad that that's an idea that's been picked up. While some of Doctor Who's greatest episodes involve the Doctor heading back into the past, Gatwa's favourite part of Davis' writing is how firmly based the showrunner is in the here and now. I would say Russell's very good at humanity and the duality of it, Gatwa says. He captures the complexity and simplicity of the human condition and the light and the dark of it. He puts the normal on the page and shows how it's really special. He's rooted in the present. He's like, don't be busy looking up there to the clouds. You're going to miss all this special beauty in the flowers that are right in front of you. That is a fantastic quote from Ncuti Gatwa as well. I don't know what everyone else thinks about that, but that kind of that's just really cool. A very eloquent way of speaking as well, which I just love. But yeah, that's very, very exciting, and I love that. Yeah, that's all that the Empire gives on their online article, but it's a very interesting discussion to be had. So the next bit of story, before we move on and talk about other stuff, we're going to talk about this. Apparently, the Jinkx Monsoon character has been revealed as also part of the Empire magazine, which is sort of quoted here saying, "As for Jinkx, she actually stepped off the stage after a Broadway run of Chicago to get straight on a plane to be a character of Maestro in Doctor Who, and I think we can say she enjoyed the part somewhat." Russell T Davies told Empire magazine with a cackle, "It's a performance and a half. She blew us away," Ncuti Gatwa, the Doctor, said. "It was so cool to see her transfer her skill set into this show. She fits Doctor Who so well. Maestro means teacher, but it could also be translated as master." Davies didn't reveal whether Monsoon is playing yet another incarnation of the Doctor's arch nemesis, the Master, in this episode, set in 1963 and featuring the Beatles. Speaking to Empire magazine in a joint interview with Gatwa, Davies explained that though the notion of doing a Beatles episode is always yeah, that's the whole thing that we just read, isn't it? Cool. So the extra thing we get there is that Jinkx Monsoon's character is called Maestro, which is interesting. It's a very kind of celestial-y kind of name, and we were talking about Jinkx Monsoon being one of the toy makers' kind of legions, let's just say. The whole connection to the Master thing, can we not do that? I kind of hope that's not the case. I don't think that'll be the case, but you never know. It could be, maybe, who knows? I think because of the whole playing with music and that sort of godlike imagery would make me think that we're maybe not getting the Master. Pardon me. That we're not getting the Master again, but we're getting a whole new villain. I think we're going more supernatural and more out there with, the Doctor Who monsters this year, and I think it would be really weird for the second episode into this new series to be bringing back an old classic like the Master, for example, who was only just seen a couple years ago, and then the year before, and then the year before. So it's just, yeah, I don't think it's that, and if it is, then I'll be disappointed, honestly, a little bit. I think, if it is the Master, let's just say, and Jinkx Monsoon does an amazing job with it, and it's incredible and exciting and out there and whatever and interesting, and I love it, then I love it. But I still think that I don't actually want to see the Master return just yet. I feel like the Master's been in the show too recently. A lot of people saying that about the hand that takes the tooth at the end of the giggle, but then also different colour nails, could be not. My theory with the whole hand taking the tooth at the end of the giggle is, I just don't think they planned it. I think they genuinely just did it as a bit of a joke, and then eventually when the Master does come back, you can do something with that. But I don't know. I don't think so. What is your favourite thing to get from Greggs aside from a sausage roll? Nothing. Sausage roll all the way, man. That's like my only thing that I will ever get from Greggs. Sausage rolls are the best. Love Machine out of those two. So George, I'm talking about Girls Aloud here. The Beatles will use either Love Machine or I'll Stand By You. Yeah. It was Kate's hands put in the archive. She had res nails. Yeah, but it still doesn't really make sense because she sort of walked off inside the building, and then this was also leaning from like the edge of the. But it's not doesn't make any sense, that bit, but I love it. They could get the music from the Beatles covered. They could, but they might not want to. Maybe the inspiration came from the idea that they would be so expensive to do that, and that's what it seems to be saying. It's not about that they couldn't at all. They might well have been able to somehow with either covers or motifs in the score. But I think it's interesting seeing like what they could do with a sort of subliminal messaging about copyright law. It's a very interesting topic. A lot of stuff going around at the minute about like public domain and obviously like the Steamboat Willie stuff. I'd be super interested to see how Doctor Who handles that subject matter through the form of some sort of strange celestial being called Maestro and, you know, is messing with the Beatles, for example. Sausage roll's a bit of a starter in a Greg's meal. No. I genuinely, Greg's is like a snack place. I would never go to Greg's for like a meal. I go there to get like a quick pick-me-up, really. Like I get a couple of sausage rolls and a Fanta, and that's me done with Greg's. I just crack in, especially now that I live in London, and especially now there's a cost of living crisis. It just goes up and up and up. Like I went to a train station the other day. I had 2 sausage rolls and a drink, and it cost me like £6-7. Ridiculous. Not even an exaggeration. Not even an exaggeration. Horrible. Horrible. Opinions on vegan sausage rolls. I did do that on purpose, don't worry. Vegan sausage rolls. You would never go on a Greg's date? No. Oh, why would anyone go on a fucking Greg's date, bro? That's madness. Oh. So let me know your theories. As always, what we tend to do on here is we tend to run over straight away to start playing 13, which we're going to do. We always jump back to it. We'll have a go. We'll have a round of it, and we'll chat to you guys a bit more and kind of bounce it around. Are there any other Doctor Who news stories you want my opinion on at the minute? I know we talked about most of it last week with the trailer breakdown and stuff. But that's all I've really seen this week. Personally, with the whole Beatles thing, I don't really hate the idea of them not using the music. And I know that's kind of like a diplomatic answer, and it's very much me going like, I don't mind whatever they do. And that's the truth. I genuinely don't mind whatever they do, to be honest. But I'm not that fussed, really, at the end of the day. Like, if it's a good episode, it's a good episode. If it doesn't need the music, it doesn't need the music. Maybe it'd be nice to do that. But you know what? You can guarantee that we're going to see about 100 different, like, fan edits with the music in. So I wouldn't worry. You're still going to technically see it. It's just not going to be officially on the TV or on the DVD release. And the story might be around that. We know in the trailer as well, we actually see the Beatles very briefly sitting down to actually record a new track. And they're like sat there in the studio ready to go. So for them not to play Beatles music after that is a very interesting thing. I mean, make note of that. That's definitely interesting to some extent. Is there an episode you're most... Can you react to the classic clip I sent in Clips and Memes on Discord? I don't know if I trust it. That's another thing as well, actually, for people interested. We actually do have a Discord server for these live streams, for all this sort of stuff. I did put it on Twitter yesterday, but I know not everyone has Twitter anymore. That's absolutely fair enough. Let me just quickly drop it over here. But yeah, we have a Discord server where we talk about the latest Doctor Who news, chat on there. So if you want to get my absolute live reactions, that's the place to go. You also get notified whenever we go live as well. So when we're live on YouTube, when we're live on Twitch, when we're live with new podcast episodes, any other sort of stuff, your chance to vote for what we do. Yeah, we share a lot of stuff in there, and it's very, very exciting. But I will share this Discord invite link in the chat now, so if you do fancy joining our little Discord to get notified on all the stuff that I'm putting out there at the minute, as well as joining a lovely little friendly community, chatting away about Doctor Who and all that sort of lovely stuff, you're more than welcome to join. So yeah, very fun stuff. Let's have a look what else questions have been asked. But no, should we react to... Oh, go on then, fucking hell. Which clip was this? If it's not a recent one, I can't do it. Yeah, it's not one that you just posted, but if you post one now, maybe I will watch one. Is there an episode you're most excited for, and if so, why? I am most excited for... don't know. I don't know. The Beatles one, the Devil's Chord, I think has my excitement the most. What's episode 3 again? Maybe episode 3 as well. I can't remember what it is, but I remember it being something interesting. Oh, Boom, yeah. I'm interested for that, obviously, as well. Just from a writing perspective. Do you think Monsoon will escape in the Devil's Chord and the finale be her, plus a twist and whoever else? I'm not sure. I think Jinkx Monsoon's character, Maestro, must be one of the Toymaker's Legions. That's completely in my mind. But I don't know. I don't know. Beatles music's played like lovely. Okay, we'll react to it, but I might not have actually seen this specific thing, so I'm gonna react to it and just go with it. Okay.
Have shown the way.
I don't know what this is from.
Goodbye.
Am I gonna get copyrighted for this? I don't want to repeat the Ronnie Corbett incident. I don't know. The thing is, because it's Classic Hero, I don't even know what I'm looking at. Like, I don't know whether it's a meme that's been really well edited or whether it's just something like I don't know, just mental. Theories on who Ruby's mum is? That's a good question. I don't have any theories. I think it's probably going to be someone we haven't met yet or some sort of alien. I kind of hope it's not something that like needs to be revealed. You know, there has to be some sort of interest around it. Unlike Star Wars, they actually have to do something with it, you know, like, I don't, with the Last Jedi, for example, I didn't mind them not giving Rey any heritage. I quite like that, actually, if anything. My problem with it more comes in the fact that, like, with this, you sort of need to, because you actually have set it up in a way which is like, well, if she's no one, then she's just a human, and that's fine, but there's nothing like, she hasn't got any special powers or anything. If she was like an alien with something going on, then that would be cool, but yeah, I don't know what point I was trying to make there in terms of Star Wars, but you get kind of what I'm saying. I'm sure you do. You're all clever enough. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Lovely stuff there. Straight on to John Hurt. She's the child of Morvin and Foon. Fingers crossed. Beatles will accidentally co-endure Jinkx by playing a certain melody, or Jinkx is using the Beatles to power up and get home, or something like the Carrionettes. Maybe something like that. Yeah. You think of Russell on the BBC announce Verada Sithu as the next companion? I actually forgot that she wasn't announced already. So that's kind of crazy in my mind, because I'd completely forgotten that she wasn't officially announced. That's just like the papers that have done that. Man, I guess when it's appropriate, like, we don't actually need it to be announced yet. Probably not until the end of season 1 at this point. Because it's not relevant, right? Because if you the thing is, some people keep an eye on this sort of stuff, right? Doctor Who fans especially, we keep an eye on this shit, right? We care about it. But general audiences don't. If you announce a new companion before the last one's left, officially, then there's a bit of confusion there. Whatever you like to think about, you know, I don't know, letting actors down or anything like that, I just think that it all comes back down to just whatever makes the most sense in terms of standard, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like how you announce stuff. It's confusing if you announce someone like a new companion before the other companions had more than one episode. It's kind of strange, especially since Ruby's not going to be like leaving the show, is she? She's still in season 2. She's just not a big part. You don't want to ruin what could be quite a good plot twist for the first series, even though people have by showing set images, or they have by filming in public. I don't know. Whoever you blame. Which new monster and guest character are you most looking forward to this season? I'm most looking forward to the Albion political character. I can't remember who's playing him, but the Welsh guy who's playing him. That is super exciting because he's not been in any of the trailers, which tells me a lot. Like, he was one of the first guest characters to be announced, but he wasn't in a single trailer, which is very cool because it means that something interesting is going on there, and I am completely game for that. Completely game for that. Eccleston, lovely stuff. Do you think that they will reference the second Doctor in the Beatles episode? I don't know. I kind of hope them, and they're definitely not going to, by the way. This isn't an actual expectation of mine. I'm not that crazy, but I'd kind of love it if they referenced like John Bishop's character, considering he was from Liverpool, and we've never met the Beatles before in Doctor Who, and it's kind of like, that would have been kind of fun. Like, it would have been fun to do it with like John Bishop's character, like our first like Scouse companion, and then the series after the Scouse companion leaves, we'll do a Beatles episode. It's a bit crazy, but then it's the whole thing about Flux, isn't it? I think if Flux wasn't a thing and Chibnall maybe had more breathing space with John Bishop's character, there probably would have been a bit of a crossover at some point. But we don't know, do we? You never know. That's the thing. You never know. Roger A.P. William. Yeah, I'm pronouncing that probably horribly, but yeah, because I don't speak Welsh, so bear that in mind. Just a Viv Rook kind of vibe. Yeah. Do you think there will be any characters and monsters returning that haven't been announced yet? Well, I'm not sure. I mean, we've got a lot of returning characters already. We've got Rose Noble, obviously, and we've got Kate Stewart, and we've got Mel, of course. So a lot of big names, like characters like that returning, which is great, and I'm here for. Do I think we need any more? Definitely not. I think we've got enough now, where we don't actually, we don't need any more. Let's be honest, we really don't need any more side characters and Doctor's friends to be announced to be coming back again. Like we don't need like a Martha or anything like that, you know. Which is fine. I mean, I love Martha, but we don't need her to be announced to come back now. It's like, come on, we've only got like a handful of episodes with Shooty and Millie. 8 episodes in this series. Let's not bog it down with too many returning elements to confuse the new audiences who sort of need to have a chance to get into the show. We need this to be like series 1 of Doctor Who. Maybe one returning monster potentially, but that needs to be about it. You know what I mean? I'd kind of like to see a returning monster that no one would expect. Like a sort of naff one, but sort of has a bit of a resurgence. A bit like the Macra coming back in Gridlock. That's it. That's what I was trying to think of. I was trying to think what was the episode called, but it was Gridlock. It's like the Macra coming back in Gridlock. That's the sort of equivalent. We need something that isn't going to actually change the story and doesn't confuse anyone who isn't already a fan, but at the same time it's kind of fun for fans as well. That's the kind of vibe I want to go for, I guess. Okay. Oh my god, I fucked it. I didn't realise I was... Oh, that's such a shame, because I was doing really well there as well. So pumped for this series. Could David Tennant be in the new series? So the David Tennant thing is interesting, isn't it? Because I kind of hope David Tennant isn't in the new series. I hope he's referenced. And we obviously see him in the Regency episode, Rogue. I really hope we don't get David Tennant in this. I don't think we will either. I don't know why they would do that. That would be very silly of them. Maybe even for a fun cameo. I still think it's a silly thing because it kind of tarnishes Shooty's start to the show. A lot of people thought that anyway. You don't really want to be bringing in you don't want to be bringing in David into Shooty's first series properly, like fully fledged. Because frankly, it's not really that fair for Shooty. Because again, it's like, how do you expect one of the most popular Doctors of all time to keep rocking up in the middle of someone's era and it be like a normal thing? I think Russell explained it best, is that there's no plans to bring him back currently, and it's just sort of someone who sort of sits in the background. I would absolutely love it if one of the two things happened. Either it mentions that David Tennant's Doctor disappears altogether, and we just assume that off-screen he becomes Shooty, and he merges at some point, and the bi-generation kind of has its effect, and Shooty's Doctor is healed because the Tennant Doctor got to heal himself and have the self-therapy and what have you. But I kind of hope it goes in another direction. This is the sort of dark and morbid version of me here, but I kind of like the idea, if you want to introduce a big bad into the show, like a new big bad, and you want to go, oh, this is the Doctor's scariest villain yet, like they do every time they announce a new villain, by the way, which is kind of getting annoying now already. They're going, this is the Doctor's biggest villain yet. It's like, yeah, the Toymaker, again, good example of a big bad, but not a one that's like the biggest villain of all time, because he gets defeated after like half an hour. You know, whereas what I would actually like to see is if you're going to introduce a big bad for Ncuti's Doctor, have it confirmed that David Tennant's 14th Doctor, split off by generation, whatever, was violently killed by this new big bad, who thought that was the Doctor. And that big bad, who already knows the Doctor, had made preparations and planned to kill the Doctor, succeeded in killing the Doctor. Like, actually killing the Doctor. And then, he or she or whoever is not aware that Ncuti's Doctor even exists. Thinks he's murdered the Doctor and is met with the Doctor. And it also cements a big thing. It gets rid of David Tennant at the timeline again, which is absolutely fine by me. Love the guy and he's a great Doctor, but I don't need to see him popping back up as the same 14th Doctor, you know. I kind of like the idea of him going and being gone, and it always happens. I know. In a few years I'll be like, yay, David Tennant, but I don't want to keep seeing him every anniversary. You know, I think we've had a couple of anniversaries with him now, and I wouldn't mind that. But imagine if they killed him off, either on or off screen. If they killed this version of the Doctor off in a really horrible, nasty, cruel, violent way. This big bad succeeding and actually doing the one thing that no one else could ever do. The Daleks, anyone, they could never kill the Doctor until now. Someone has killed the Doctor, which makes him an actual threat for the other Doctor, the Ncuti Gatwa Doctor, the main Doctor. That's my theory. Or Tennant is the big bad, but then that sort of takes away again from Ncuti, and I'm not particularly keen on them doing that. We don't need to see more Tennant. I love the guy. I think he's a phenomenal Doctor. He's absolutely one of my favourites. I wish we'd see more of 14. You know, deep down, I know that's true. I really do wish we'd see more of that version of the character, because it was a fascinating one, and I really love what they did with it. But do I think it's right for the show? Do I think it's right for Ncuti Gatwa? No, I don't. And if it's used as a plot device for a bigger villain introduction, then I'm absolutely game for it. But otherwise, I don't really like that. But then Tennant could always come back as a version of that Doctor. If he gets killed off screen, then you could just bring him back at some point and go, this is him before he died. I don't know. I think it's just a cool idea. How else can you ever make a villain threatening other than being able to kill the Doctor? And you, as an audience member, need to believe that this person can kill the Doctor. How better to do that than him actually killing the Doctor? And then the Doctor has an advantage. You have someone who has a personal vendetta against the Doctor and thinks the Doctor is already dead. At least one version of him, anyway. But the Great Intelligence or something. Like, they could have done something more interesting with the Great Intelligence in Series 7. This is kind of the thing they could have done. But they didn't. And that's fine. Ugh, that's a really annoying thing that just happened there. Oh, well. That's kind of fucking annoying, isn't it? Have them merged like the Watcher? No. Yeah, the cold open of the episode being like the Doctor getting killed, it would go fucking viral. Everyone would be like, oh my god, because then people who don't even watch Doctor Who would be like, what is going on here? Like, I remember watching this as a kid and they just murdered him, like actually killed him, and he's dead. Imagine that visual of some sort of villain who is new to the Doctor Who universe, and we see them actually killing the Doctor. David Tennant's Doctor starts regenerating and dies in a horrible but spectacular way. I don't know, it's kind of morbid, but it raises the stakes, doesn't it, for that villain. If the Daleks come back again, you know the Doctor's going to beat them, right? The only real stake is if they kill a companion or something, right? That's the real stake of like any sort of villain that comes into the show now, because or makes the Doctor regenerate, sure, but like they're always going to regenerate eventually. It's always going to happen, and usually when someone regenerates, we know it's going to happen in advance. Whereas when a companion leaves the show, we don't know if they're going to die or not, to be fair. But I think the Master's a good one, right? Yeah, sure. But I think a new villain would be interesting. No new villain that Doctor Who's introduced in recent years has caught my attention, right? And there's a reason for that, because the stakes aren't there and the history isn't there, right? Swarm was probably the best attempt at that. honestly, because it was someone who remembered the Doctor and had many battles with the Doctor, but the Doctor has no idea and doesn't remember, and that works because as an audience, we don't fucking know this guy either. I think they should just go back to how they used to do it in Classic Who, just random aliens with random vendettas against the Doctor for some reason or another. It worked like that, and it can still work like that. I consider the bioregeneration to be the regeneration of the 14th Doctor, and now will die at the end of his life. I see that as well, but I don't know if that's exactly what they were going for, so interesting. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's my sort of interesting idea. But you know, you don't have to agree with it. It's not ever going to happen. The BBC are not that brave to do that, I don't think. And I'd love it if they did do something as ballsy and interesting and different as that. That's the key thing I'm looking for, is something different. What is going on here? Oh shit. Okay. I hate this game sometimes, man. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. Okay. I don't think Swarm and Azure were the best villains, but like, what I mean is it gave them stakes. It had an interesting new idea that gave them stakes. Right? Someone who battled the Doctor and had a very, very personal vendetta against the Doctor, but the Doctor had no idea. And because the Doctor had no idea, neither did we. Fuck. Damn it. In the meantime, I've got to do my little advertising run, haven't I? I always do this every single time, every single live stream. But if you're not familiar with what we do, obviously I've posted the Discord link in the chat there. Please do come and join it. It's a wonderful little community. It's great to have you guys there. Chat about Doctor Who every day, chat about other stuff every day. I'm active every now and then, so I will be able to chat. But if you have any questions and all that sort of thing during the week, then I'm always there. And we promote our projects on there. And what projects do we do? Well, we've got some new stuff going on here on YouTube, as well as all these other lovely things. Every single Tuesday, I'm aiming to stream here on YouTube with the Who Bulletin, which is right now. It's our weekly Doctor Who news show, and we talk about the latest and greatest in the world of Doctor Who. What's going on, what's been announced, what hasn't been announced, and the closer we get to the brand new series, the more news there's going to be, and the closer we get to the new series, the more reactions and more episode discussions and reviews that will happen as well. I'm also streaming on Twitch every Tuesday as well, and it'll be happening tonight in about 20 minutes time. The people in our lovely Discord server, which has already been linked in the chat, I'll tell you what, I'll link it again for anyone who might have missed it and fancies joining. Is that the right? Yeah, that is the right one. There you go, once again, if you want to join. But you guys voted for it. You wanted me to play Batman Arkham City over Fortnite. I can completely understand. So we're going to be playing Batman Arkham City once again after this stream ends over on Twitch. So at about 8 o'clock-ish, we're going to be hopping over from YouTube to twitch.tv/gbsheard. Link in the description below, of course. We're going to be heading over there to play a bit of Batman Arkham City, and that'll be a lot of fun. We'll be doing that till about 10 o'clock or whenever I get tired. So that'll be a lot of fun. Please come and join us over on there. It is a lot of fun over on Twitch, playing games, chatting more about Doctor Who if you want, have any questions, etc. You can drop them over there and chat. If I've missed any, which I almost definitely have missed some of your questions. And, of course, you might have noticed as well, we actually had a new video come out last week as well. Kind of a new video. If you're familiar with the Who Bulletin streams, you've probably already seen these. But this is basically a new video. It's a cut-down, properly edited version of both of my trailer breakdowns. My full-length trailer breakdowns for the Disney trailer and the BBC trailer for Season 1 of Doctor Who. You can go and check that out if you want as well. That's on the channel now. Line that up. Let's get it to 1,000 views. That'll be lovely. It's almost there. Yeah, so just trying to push that, trying to check that out. If you are interested, please don't go and have a look, see if I've missed anything in the trailers that you might have caught. And of course, as well, if you're not already familiar, we do have a podcast. Ha ha ha. George, you have a podcast? Yes, I do have a podcast. Thank you for talking. I have a podcast which have new episodes out every single Thursday. That's right. That's even more content from me. So we have a new Doctor Who channel post every Friday with the video last week, and I've got another one coming out this Friday as well, which is incredible. Every Thursday a new podcast episode, and every Tuesday we're going to be streaming. I'm putting out a lot of content at the minute, so if you are interested and you want to see some Doctor Who stuff or other stuff, this is the kind of stuff that I do. This podcast is linked in the chat right now. It's pinned. It's in a little pinned comment. You can go over there, and it would really, really make my world. It would rock my world even if you drop a follow over on Spotify. Give us a lovely little 5-star rating as well. And yeah, that would be lovely. We've got 8 episodes out now, and we've got a brand new episode coming out this week, which, believe it or not, talks about Batman and DC and all that sort of lovely stuff. We talked about video games last time: Westworld, Five Nights at Freddy's, Spider-Man, Academy Awards, Newcastle, Star Wars, and other random stuff. And we've got some really exciting stuff coming your way very soon. Some Doctor Who stuff, you'll be happy to know, in the works in the coming weeks as we get closer and closer to the beginning of Season 1 of the show. So you can look out for that as well. But yeah, please do go and check that out. The link is in the chat, pinned at the top of the page. Would really, really appreciate it if you go and check that out. And if you don't have Spotify, it's also available on YouTube here, Nostalgia Bit. And you can check out all the episodes here on YouTube as well. So, yeah. Thank you for that. We're going to do another round of question and answer, as well as playing another game of 13. And then we are going to... and then we're going to head over to Twitch and play some Batman. So, yeah. With your idea of Footing being killed by a villain, would he dissipate... I can't think... There's like an emoji button. Oh, dissipate the show... to show the bioregeneration is complete and fixated, or would you show his body? I wouldn't show anything. It would be off screen, or if they showed it on screen, it would be very much. It would be very much like a thing. I feel like it's just very brief, like a body. Yeah, you're right, like a body. I've already done the Hoodle for today, unfortunately. I got it wrong 3 times in a row, but. Yeah, that's really bad. It was quite an easy one as well, so I feel ashamed of that one. I'm usually a lot better at those things. Hoodle's fun. I should have saved it for the stream, I know. I feel like I've made a mistake there. But yeah, we're gonna aim to have new videos on this channel more frequently. Definitely not like multiple times a week like we used to do when I was in uni, because I just had loads of free time back then, and that's just not something I have at all now. So yeah, bear that in mind. It's probably a temporary thing, but hey, if it starts to do well and people start to enjoy the content that I put on this channel every week, then that will keep happening. A lot of them will be sort of recut down stuff that we've already had out there before, so if you are a sort of active viewer of this channel and other stuff that goes on, you'll of course have seen some of it before anyway, but there are some I've edited some stuff down. The one coming out this Friday is our gameplay, full-length gameplay of Destiny of the Doctors, but it is actually cut down, edited, little meme edited, and it honestly is quite funny. I was watching it back, and I'm not just saying that to kind of get you guys remotely interested for it, but I was watching some of it back and laughing at myself, and I really, they don't do that very often, trust me. What type of Doctor Who games would you want to see? Good question. Doctor Who video games are an interesting one history-wise. They just haven't been remotely good for a long time. I think the best examples of Doctor Who video games were the adventure games, honestly. I think the adventure games were a stroke of brilliance. They were exactly what Doctor Who needed, really, at the time, and exactly what was perfect for the show. Half puzzle, half open world, kind of adventuring within the confines of a story. You know, you get a bit of free roam ability, but you're not doing anything out of the ordinary of what the show would do. It's not completely open world, which you wouldn't expect from a free online BBC game at the time. But it is interesting and it is enjoyable to play. You know, you do feel you're playing a new Doctor Who story that is competently written, which is great. You know, and I love it for that. I think The Flash games are funny as well. You know, the old Flash games on the website. We used to get a new Flash game for every episode of the show back in that era. So that was interesting. You go back and play some of those. Are excellent. If, you know, the ones that still work that are. But I don't know. I think for now, a lot of people say, oh, we need like a big Spider-Man like open world Doctor Who game. We don't at all. And we're never going to want... No one who wants that. Seriously, who wants that? Because would it ever work with Doctor Who? Probably not. And that's okay. Doctor Who doesn't have to be that. I think the best thing Doctor Who could do for a video game thing is play with the time travel concept. Time travel is something that isn't very well explored in video games, and Doctor Who already has a bit of a stake in that market. It kind of makes sense to do something with that. In one sense, yeah, probably. Okay, wow. Ninth Doctor already, fantastic. Doctor Who games in the style of the Fallen Order series. Exactly, but it just... Would it happen, and would we want that? You know what I mean? It's a fascinating question. I don't know the answer to it. I really don't. I don't think I, as a fan, would want to see that. Because it's sort of... Like, how would you ever make that work? Because it's the BBC we're talking about, and maybe with a bit of a Disney budget, sure, but I just don't see it ever happening. Where's the interest for it? I, of all people, would absolutely love to see a Doctor Who game. Do I think it's going to ever have the budget to be as satisfying for fans as we want it to be? No. Never. It never will be. And that's perfectly fine. Like, that's allowed to be the case. It's just annoying. Like, I thought we were done there, you know? Yeah, I fucked that. Went the wrong way. Oh, we've got 10 minutes. We'll do one more. Fuck it. Attack of the Grass was great as well, because Attack of the Grass, you've got like specially recorded stuff from David Tennant. That was a lot of fun. Talking to you as like an audience member, that's great. What do you want to see in a spin-off? Something unique. I really like. A lot of people criticised and laughed at the idea of the Sea Devils spin-off. I think it's a brilliant idea, and that's not because I enjoyed Legend of the Sea Devils. I thought Legend of the Sea Devils was absolute shit, but I love the idea of a Sea Devils spin-off. Why? Because no one wants it. So if they're making it, they must have a really bloody good story behind it. You know what I mean? I trust them. I trust them with it. And I like this Disney approach as well that in recent years of doing limited series, not doing like, you know, multi-series arcs of anything. Like Legend Between the Land and Sea, if that's what it's called, if it's true, if that's what it's going to be, and it's going to happen, and it's going to work, then amazing. And what it is likely to be is a limited series. It's going to be like 6 to 8 episodes, and that's it forever. It's a limited series that maybe ties into the next season of the show, and that to me is fascinating. I love that. I think it's a great idea, and I can see them doing a lot with it. I like it. I genuinely like it. Believe it or not. Other spin-offs similar to that. You know, I don't want 5 seasons of a unit spin-off that I have to watch to follow the show when I'm doing a rewatch. No, I kind of like the idea of limited series because it adds to the timeline in a new and interesting kind of way. And with streaming, you're probably able to do that a lot more efficiently than you would have been able to do years ago. So yeah, I like it. I respect it. I think it's good. Beyond that, I'm not sure. I don't know. Other spin-off ideas? I'm not a big ideas guy when it comes to Doctor Who spin-offs. I don't know if there's many I'd actually want to see. We've also not had a great track record either with Doctor Who spin-offs. Like, okay, Class, yeah, probably wasn't. It's not terrible. I'm not saying that, but the concept, was anyone like wanting that concept? Was anyone like, you know what we really need for a Doctor Who spin-off? A school with kids, teenagers even, like a sort of Waterloo Road meets Doctor Who. I don't really need to see Captain Chat return again. John Barrowman's getting older and more annoying, and I don't need to see any more of that man than I legally have to. Apparently a working title. Yeah. A lot of people suggesting it could be like a villain anthology thing. I think it genuinely will be like a Sea Devil thing, but I think it'll tie into an episode from Season 2. That's my theory. And I'd be surprised if anyone thinks really differently, because I don't know what else it could be logically to justify them making a Sea Devil spin-off. off a notoriously unpopular episode from last year. God, 2 years ago. But yeah. I know, I'll be nice. I'm just saying that I don't know. It wasn't a great episode. I didn't enjoy it, and I know a lot of people were kind of in that same boat. Even fans who don't get involved with the politics of, like, fan drama and all that sort of thing, like reactionary YouTubers. As far as I'm concerned, if blind way of watching an episode of Doctor Who and they don't like it, then it's not a very good episode of Doctor Who. Because it's a sort of idea for the general audience, isn't it? It's sort of like people who don't get involved in fan politics. It's like, if I'm not keen on it, and then you see people like Blind Wave aren't keen on it, you're like, well, it probably isn't that good. A Fugitive Doctor spin-off. Like, look, again, I'd love it, but does it not contradict what we're doing with the current era? You know, I kind of like the idea of starting afresh, doing new stuff. For fans, yes, but let Big Finish do it. They already are absolutely losing it themselves doing that sort of thing. Big Finish love the whole, you know, bridging together stories that didn't need to be bridged together. Jackie Tyler meets the Sontarans. Like, I love them for it. You know, good for you guys. We don't need a TV Fugitive Doctor spin-off. I love Jo Martin. I think she's great as the Doctor. We don't need a spin-off now. That should have been done like a year ago plus, you know. If anything, it's just sad that we didn't get it at the time. And it is sad we didn't get it at the time. I wish we bloody got something more from Jo Martin. Not her fault. It's just there's just nothing interesting to do story-wise. Which is, again, just annoying, if anything. Do you want Jodie to do Big Finish? Yeah, because I'm sure a lot of people would love Jodie to do Big Finish, and I'm sure actually some stories would be really great, and I think Jodie deserves the credit for being a good Doctor, because she is a good Doctor. She's just suffered again from a bit of poor writing here and there, but there are some great episodes in that era, and I stand by that. I am more excited about the new era than I have been for the show in years, and that is genuinely true. I love the end of Capaldi's era, but I was starting to sort of lose a bit of interest. You know, Jodie's era did spike my interest back up again, admittedly, and I had a lot of fun making content around that time, and I loved that. I loved that era of being a Doctor Who fan. For me, that was a really exciting time. Now, do I think that it was the best era? No. Do I think there's definitely things that needed improving and could have been done better? Yeah, I think they stumbled at the first hurdle. I think Series 11 is the best season of that time. I genuinely do. I think it's bloody brilliant. I really, really love that season. But admittedly, I have to sort of take a little bit of a seat and go, well, actually, no, they did mess up a few things. They had this whole idea for this whole new brand launch. They wanted to do this whole style thing that we're getting now with the Disney approach, and that was amazing. It was amazing that they were able to do that. Obviously, some people don't like it. That's absolutely fair enough, but it is what the show needs, really, at this point in time. To become the global powerhouse that it once was, Doctor Who needs to be this again. So I don't know. I don't know where I was getting to with that, but I think that they were trying to do that at the beginning of the Chibnall's era. They weren't able to, really. And it's upsetting because they probably obviously want to do that. It's clear that there was like a brand manager thing in place. I know Chris Chibnall's talked about this before. And it's super interesting. I love hearing about that sort of stuff because it's like, oh, what could have been? We actually could have had this, not the Disney level stuff, but we could have had a proper, strict like brand management approach. And I think that would have been fucking sick. But probably what the show needed. I think the Whittaker era is underrated, and I think there's a lot of stuff that, in time, fans will come to remember really fondly. I think there's some stuff that doesn't work, and it just never will. And that's also completely fine. Like, every era has that, you know? We sort of look back on Love and Monsters now, like the Star Wars prequels, and be like, oh, it actually wasn't that bad. It was poor. It was a poor episode, and it was fine, and it was good filler. And it had some funny moments in it, and it probably was a little bit self-aware. But does that mean it's like a highlight of that era? No, by no means does it at all. We shouldn't be holding it to that regard. It's really, really not. I'm kind of waffling now, but basically, yes, I'd love to see Whittaker do Big Finish because I think she deserved better. She suffered to poor writing, and I think she absolutely deserves to have a proper shot at being the Doctor again, because she loves that character, she loved that role, as she should. It's a brilliant role to play. But I do feel for her. I do feel that she would have stayed longer if she had the choice in the matter, and she didn't. She'll never admit it. But the fact of the matter is, you can kind of see around the time everything was happening, like the BBC clearly were like, right, time to go. I don't know anything about it. I don't know any inside information. That's just my genuine prediction. It's kind of like that unspoken thing where it's like, yes, we always plan to leave. This is our announcing our official departure from the show. We totally weren't forced to say this and actually wanted to leave. Yeah, I don't know. I don't trust that. I feel like Chibnall had a lot of visions with the show in terms of the Timeless Children. Got shafted a lot because of COVID and stuff happened, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The show's been in worse places than the Whittaker era, and it will again. It's just, I think I would like to see Jodie do Big Finish, even though I'll never listen to it because I don't listen to Big Finish very often. I would like her to have that because I think she deserves her outing as the Doctor, like a proper little hurrah at doing it, you know? Not last hurrah, but like a sort of, yeah, something. She deserves it. She's a very, very talented actress and could have been one of the best Doctors, and I think just due to some poor writing and just some general backward fan perceptions, she gets shafted, and it's a shame, isn't it? But it's unfortunately the world we live in, isn't it? I might be talking complete bollocks. I think I might be talking complete bollocks now. I need to sort of sometimes just shut the fuck up. We've got one more minute and then we're going to head over to Twitch. So as soon as I finish this game, we're going to be heading over to Twitch, as I said before. The link is in the description. We do go and play video games over on Twitch every Tuesday. Today we're playing Batman Arkham City again. We've kind of finished the story. But what we are going to do is go back. We are definitely almost done here. We're practically cooked. Maybe not. Now. Yeah, now we're done. Fuck. Went the other way, I would have had that. Perfect timing, though. Yeah, we're going to be going live on Twitch pretty much immediately, so if you are enjoying the stream, please feel free to stay tuned as we head over to twitch.tv right about now. The link is in the chat. If you're thinking, that's not my cup of tea, George, I like YouTube, it's easier, this is a good place to jump off, that's absolutely fine, but I do urge you to try it out if you haven't before. It's pretty much exactly the same as these live streams. It literally is. I don't move from where I'm sat right now. We're just playing a different video game, but talking about the same sort of stuff, the same sort of conversational pieces, my same sort of weird opinions on Doctor Who. We're going to be doing those over there. So any more questions that you guys might have, pop over to Twitch, drop them in the Twitch chat, and I will answer them in about 2 minutes' time when we go live on there. Head over to that link, get it open in another tab on your desktop, or open it now on your phone, and I will see you over there very, very shortly. Thank you so much for watching another installment